Press the bell icon on the YouTube app to never miss a video from Newslaundry.
This is a Newslaundry podcast and you're listening to NL versus NL.
I can't shout over you. I'll tell you why. I'll
Separatist traitors.
Are you a Maoist, sir?
Let's make debates great again. NL versus NL.
Hello and welcome to Newslaundry podcast NL versus NL. We are back again with a new episode. We are debating today if Aap is dabbling in soft Hindutva. Ayush agrees with it. Hello, Ayush.
Hi.
And I disagree with the topic. We are living in extraordinary times, not just because we're going through a pandemic and we're recording this podcast at our home, but also because we live in a political climate today where the Shiv Sena is considered more secular than Aap. And why is that? We're going to get into that discussion. I'm going to give it away to Ayush to begin his piece and explain to us why he thinks Aap is dabbling in soft Hindutva. Go ahead, Ayush.
So I'll begin by describing what I think is soft Hindutva. So Hindutva in itself, stands for this political ideology that tries to shape a cultural nation of Hindus where Hindus are the first citizens. Because it's bringing about a social change, it's very brutish, it can be violent. But soft Hindutva can only be about images, symbolism, some sensitivities or posturing. So that's what I think the Aam Aadmi Party was doing for, in the months leading to the Delhi election. For Arvind Kejriwal to recite the Hanuman Chalisa, in media interviews, for Saurabh Bhardwaj to do those Hanuman events on the first Tuesday of every month. And then he later said that we also won because of Lord Hanuman, things like that. So I don't think that the Aap, as it was, several years ago, when it seemed to be offering a sort of a secular alternative to BJP's Hindutva politics. What is happening, I think, is that it's just perfecting what Modi set out to do in 2014. That is, Modi said that he would be, bringing development, and when he came to power, there was another new agenda of Hindutva politics. So even though the latter has succeeded, and we've seen a lot of that in the last 5 years, we haven't seen a lot of development. What Kejriwal seems to be doing now is he's offering development, but he is also playing to the Hindutva gallery. He's trying to not disturb this political majority of Hindus that Modi created. And that mobilization is not going away. And I think that's a problem because religious politics overall, it unleashes certain cultural forces which are bad for the society, equal rights, scientific outlook, which we should not give up on. So that's my argument.
Okay, so I completely disagree with you. And I think our fundamental disagreements here are in how we define soft Hindutva. I don't think there's any such thing as soft Hindutva. And I think people who use the term don't understand how toxic Hindutva really is, or probably don't even understand what Hindutva is. So I think when most people say soft Hindutva, like you said, what they mean is a political party is indulging in a sort of a public expression of a certain type of Hinduness, quote unquote. So like when you said reciting the Hanuman Chalisa, which for the record, I think was planned. I think that was TV News Gold and I don't think it was spontaneous. I think a message was being trying to send out. But if we go by that definition, then Gandhi also did soft Hindutva with his very public bhajans, with a very religious color to it. He invoked Ram. Or if you go by that definition, then an iftar party is, soft Islamism. And I think Aap, at least till last year, Aap was throwing iftar parties. I don't know this year what would happen. Or, for example, when Amanatullah invoked Allah in one of his speeches, you could go back to that and say that, oh, this is Islamism. And this is what the right wing does. Right wing channels like Times Now and Republic does it when it comes to Islam. I don't think we should make that same mistake when it comes to Hindus or Hinduism, quote unquote. And I'm saying Hinduism loosely because I know a lot of people have a lot of problems with the definitions. A lot of people would define it differently. But let's just say Hinduness. So I don't think a party going to a temple or invoking Ram, and not just Aap, right? We've had people like Siddaramaiah, who's supposed to be an atheist, but before the Karnataka elections, he went on his temple run. So, and we've had it since the time of Gandhi, and before Gandhi, actually, not Gandhi. So I think since time immemorial, we've had politicians dabble in some sort of public expression of religion, and that doesn't really qualify as soft Hindutva. And I'd say that soft Hindutva, when you say soft Hindutva, what you're saying is an expression of Hinduness, and I think that's very different from Hindutva.
Okay, so my first problem with what Manisha's rebuttal, her position is that I don't define soft Hindutva simply as a public expression of faith. In my argument, I said that it has to occur within the whole, large political presence of Hindutva itself, in that there is already a Hindu majority which has become a very potent force in our politics, and soft Hindutva is, if not, dealing directly with this Hindu majority in the sense of a national government or a government that is controlling all institutions, it's simply catering to that Hindu majority. Gandhi's example is incorrect here because he was not mobilizing Hindus during the freedom struggle. He was mobilizing Indians. Even though he did inject religion into politics in his time, the context of it was fighting colonialism, was fighting an outsider.
No, I don't think you're correct with the Gandhi analogy, because take something as simple as cow slaughter. Gandhi from the very beginning said that Muslims should not be cow slaughtering. He wrote poems in praise of the cow. That's where the difference that I think comes in is that, and I think AAP is maybe similar in some ways. I mean, Gandhi is a very tall order. I wouldn't compare any AAP leader with Gandhi, but I think I reject the argument that the Hindu majority is something that the BJP has created. I think that Hindu majority sentiment existed way before Modi. And I think that, he was rallying Indians, and he wasn't, I think Gandhi's Hinduness was different from the fact that it didn't exclude other religions. But it was pandering to Hindus. I don't think he was just benignly, I don't think he was like this, oh, my dear Indians. I think there was a very specific Hindu quality to his invocation.
Okay, I agree that Hindu majority precedes Modi, even precedes Modi in his lifetime. But what I mean is that there's a political majority that every once in a while a government creates. For example, a movement creates. For example, the India Against Corruption movement created a political majority that was against corruption and for transparency. Now, we can't say that that sentiment was missing even before they came into the scene. The Hindu majority was there, but Modi has simply empowered them, and even he has weaponized their faith. Gandhi didn't do any of that. I don't think Gandhi even, as you say, catered to the Hindus. I think he used certain values of the Hindu religion, and then he made some universal appeals. So even if, for example, he was defending cow slaughter, he would be completely against demonizing Muslims in the whole process. In any case, what AAP is doing is within the context of what Modi is doing. They are unwilling to disturb this the sensitivities that he has brought into picture. And these sensitivities are, of course, they violate the values of, say, equal rights. The AAP did not come forward and speak against the NRC or the CAA. Now, that is not a matter of religion, it is a matter of civil rights. So that was, I think, playing to the gallery again. I think Gandhi, in that sense, would have been way different, and in that context, that he would have come forward and said something like, "You can't do this with the minority in your own country." So that is the crucial difference that I disagree with you on. Second, for example, I'll take Rajiv Gandhi's example. When he was Prime Minister, he opened the locks of the Babri Masjid and he allowed the VHP to conduct a ritual within the premises of the mosque. I think that was soft Hindutva in its time, because that was not just a public expression of faith, but in the context of the Ram Janmabhoomi movement that was, flaring at that time, he simply catered to the same sensitivities that movement tried to mold. And of course, we know what happened when there was a prayer inside and the locks were broken, and in 5 years, the mosque came down. So that is, in a way, shows the dangers of this kind of soft Hindutva, that it does not go as far as, of course, bringing the changes as hard Hindutva in itself, but it clears the way for some very disturbing elements of religious politics to enter a society and, just bring very bad disruptions.
Okay, so First, about the Rajiv Gandhi thing, I think that was Hindutva. I would not call it soft Hindutva because it was the Hindutva forces that were demanding the opening of the gates. And Rajiv Gandhi did it obviously because he wanted to make up for Shah Bano. And I don't see soft Hindutva there. I think that was pure Hindutva. I think one of the things that we need to understand AAP's politics, soft Hindutva politics is, I think we need to understand how Muslims have reacted to it. So there are two things to it. One is the Muslim consolidation that the AAP got. I think its victory wouldn't have been possible without the women, Dalits and Muslims. There was a huge Muslim consolidation behind AAP, and this was the first time after Sheila Dikshit. So I think there's something that tells us about the community that despite its open sort of pandering to Hanuman or its public expression of Hinduness, like I said, it doesn't scare a Muslim away. And that's fundamentally because when an AAP worker says Jai Hanuman, I don't think I feel scared in the way that I feel scared when BJP guy says Jai Shri Ram. An AAP worker will say Jai Hanuman, whatever, but he's not going to stop someone, at least yet. I mean, we're only talking about what's happening till now. He's not going to stop a Muslim and say, okay, go ahead, say Jai Hanuman, or I'll lynch you, or Hanuman is your God. This is the kind of language of Hindutva that the BJP has, where it says that Ram is your God too, ki Hindustan mein rehna hoga, Jai Shri Ram kehna hoga. It is willing to, I mean, there are lynchings that have happened where, people have forced a Muslim to chant Jai Shri Ram. So fundamentally, I think we need to also understand whether it's Hindutva or not, soft Hindutva or not, and how Muslims react to this sort of politics. The fact that it's backed the party in a very strong way means that the community is not threatened by it. And I think that's a good measure of understanding whether this is Hindutva or not, because Muslims today, more than ever, would be very threatened by Hindutva. So that's one point. The second point is a sort of a philosophical point that I wanted to just make of how a lot of liberals and a lot of privileged left liberals or liberals are able to be so staunchly secular because we have a lot of other things to fall back on. Our education, our privilege, our money that we have. We're born into families that have been able to educate us. We have a certain sense of financial security. I think when you have more and more of that, you can be more and more less reliant on faith. And that's not true for a large number of Indians. For a large number of Indians, nothing works, right? Like we're going through a pandemic right now. For a huge proportion of Indian population, public health does not work. Law does not deliver. The police is out to beat you. There's really very little in India that works for you if you come. And this is for a majority of people. And I think when you're going through that, faith is the only thing that you have. Faith is something of your own. And I think politicians across time in India have understood that power of that space that faith holds for a large number of Indians. So I think when an AAP professes, its faith or gives liberty to its leaders to, have a Sundarkand or whatever, a lot of people find solace in that, and I think they understand that. And that necessarily does not mean that it's going to be it's going to be as toxic as imposing your faith on the other. And I think this was kind of the traditional Congress sort of politics that they had perfected for a while, which they then lost way somewhere. But I do think this is a good time in India to have a political party that understands the importance of faith for people, that doesn't look down at it, but that also recognizes that there's going to be equal space for your faith, irrespective of where you come from, and that primary resources, your access to healthcare, education, a good job will not depend on your faith. And I think their AAP has shown that when it talks about education, it's going to talk about everyone's education. When it talks about healthcare, it's going to talk about a mohalla clinic for all mohallas,
So first of all, Manisha said that, that Muslims feel comfortable and they're not threatened by AAP's expression of faith. I don't know how to comment on it. I don't know how she can do it because both of us are not Muslims.
I'm going by the vote consolidation.
Okay, so...
And
okay.
also, one incident in
Manisha,
NDTV.
your time is up. You can't interrupt him anymore.
Yeah, so Manisha also said that AAP is finally a party that has, realized the importance of faith and it can realize the equality of faiths. I think that's not true because NRC was one issue where equality of faith came up as a national debate and AAP failed to take a position on it. So I don't think that equality of faith wala argument applies to AAP at all. It only, I'm sure it applies, they are comfortable with faith, but as my argument is, they're only comfortable with the majority ka faith, that is of the Hindus.
So one is I didn't say that AAP is. I mean, AAP is the opportune party. I think that the time is ripe for a party to do that. I do think that from everything that AAP has done right now, I don't think we can make the claim that they aren't for till now that they aren't for giving all faiths equal space. I think that CAA and NRC was a calculated political move. You can there accuse them of being politically calculative, but I don't think you can still accuse them of soft Hindutva there, because when he was asked the questions of CAA, NRC, Kejriwal did say that, but I don't see what the point is. So it was a meek sort of a protest, but I think he didn't want to get sucked into a terrain where BJP would win. And I think a political party's primary objective is to win. So there, I don't think that's a reflection of Hindutva. The other thing I wanted to ask Ayush was, when we're talking about public expression of faith, you have the US, which has a national day of prayer, right from the time of Abraham Lincoln, where the president would actually ask you to turn to prayer and meditation, and a big part of it would obviously be Christian faith. That doesn't necessarily turn America into like a Christian majority country, or I don't know what is the equivalence for a Hindutva, like there's no Christian Tattva, whatever. So similarly, I think just keeping a prayer or stuff like that doesn't make us Hindutva as a country. I do think what is a test of AAP will Amanatullah be as free to express his faith as, say, a Saurabh Bhardwaj is? Will he be allowed to hold a mass namaz if he wants to, or have a public Eid celebration? Not only would he be allowed to do that or not, but will the party come to his support if he's attacked by, say, Times Now Republic for saying, look at this Islamist. So when a party's Muslim leaders come under attack from, the right-wing proxies that make our party EV News Studios, is the party going to stand up for them or not? I think that will be, for me, the big test of whether this is Hindutva or not. For now, whatever they've done till now, I don't think it's a cause of alarm. There is definitely political opportunism in where they've strategically decided to be silent at certain occasions. They've decided to distance themselves with Shaheen Bagh. They've tried to not openly come out, in support of Muslims after the riots, but that's opportunism or political hypocrisy or calculativeness, not really Hindutva.
Okay, so my response to the thing about the National Prayer Day in America, I think it's not the best comparison, simply because the idea of nation and nationhood in America is very different. Society has different fault lines. So you have a more or less homogeneous nation that speaks one language, prays to one, subscribes to one religion. In India, we have a fault line along the line of religion. We have certain traumatic events from history which make these things very sensitive, and that might not be the case in the States. Second was, I think I agree with your point about Amanatullah. That was one of my arguments, that till now we haven't seen Amanatullah or Haji Muhammad Yunus, who's the MLA from Mustafabad. We haven't seen their public celebration of faith, probably because Haji is so busy, trying to cover up for his own party's incompetence when it comes to looking after Muslims in the aftermath of the riots. Second was, I don't agree with this argument that the objective of a political party should simply be to win elections. I'm of course aware that is the reality, but I don't agree with it on the count that this is my entire problem, that if AAP is going to cater to BJP in the long run, just like it did before the Delhi election, it will just wind up being a local party that just keeps probably winning an election for a while in this union territory of Delhi. Because in states like Gujarat, where even Congress would play to, before all India had the Hindu majority as a electorate, Gujarat had it one before that, and Congress played the same game with the BJP, but in the end, the BJP won that out. So AAP will eventually lose this game to the BJP, and in fact, the premises of all the things will not change. In fact, it might just end up becoming more hardline.
Okay, that was fun. Thanks, Ayush, for joining me on this debate. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, I had fun. It was very fruitful.
Wow, that was very mechanical. Guys, this is basically just to give you a sneak peek into our Newslaundry newsroom. As you just witnessed, both Ayush and I don't agree on something. And that's Newslaundry newsroom on most days. Most of us don't agree on many things. We're not like contrary to popular perception, we are not like a group think, people with like similar kind of thinking and similar kind of ideologies coming together, working like robots. We have different opinions and we argue it out, and we're generally all very decent about it. Sometimes we shout and scream, but that's not for the recording. And so this NL versus NL format is to tell you guys that it is possible to have a civil debate without losing it on each other. This is not just restricted to the Newslaundry team. The NL versus NL podcast is supposed to be something that we want to invite more people to do, invite more people to come on board and debate with each other. So we have a special form that is only for subscribers. So you have to subscribe to Newslaundry to get access to that form. You fill that form, you tell us your opinion on various issues, and we'll match you with someone who thinks exactly the opposite of what you think, and we'll get you guys on board to debate, to make debates great again. So check out the form, fill it, and if you're not a Newslaundry subscriber, this is a great incentive to become one, because you can then be part of some fun debates and also meet new people through, these debates. Fun times. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for our next episode.
All the Newslaundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to Newslaundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs, and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.